When I was going through one of the hardest seasons of my life, I sat down with my pastor one day and he took me through this passage in Second Corinthians chapter 7 that I want to go through real quick. This is Second Corinthians chapter 7, starting in verse 10. It says, "For godly grief produces a repentance that leads to salvation without regret, whereas worldly grief produces death." And so I never had heard this before. I never really understood the difference between godly grief and repentance and worldly grief. And so godly grief is understanding that, yes, I messed up, and whether or not things actually turn around and go the way that I want them to, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to turn and ask for forgiveness, and I'm going to just continue to walk towards Jesus. Worldly repentance is this. You realize, man, I really messed up. I really screwed up. And you only try to change your behavior to get what you want. And when we don't get what we want, we just go back to doing the same behaviors, the same actions. And so that was huge for me. And I could say, like, going through that season, I would say I didn't get what I necessarily wanted, but I realized, one, that God's timing is perfect. And that for me to truly show repentance is to continue down that road. And I could say a year and a half later, it wasn't just because the things around me were not going as planned. It wasn't because of my circumstances. It wasn't the fact that I was simply just going through a hard time that I wanted to turn my life around. And so we need to ask ourselves continually, like, am I doing this? Am I repenting because the consequences themselves are bad and they're uncomfortable? Or do I realize that I sinned against God? I may have hurt other people in the process. I need to turn my ways and go back to Him and continue down that path. Because it says worldly grief, it leads to death. And that's just, man, I messed up. The consequences are terrible. I'm not really sorry, but I'm going to change my behavior to just get what I want. And then if I get what I want, I'll probably just go back to acting and doing the same things that I used to do. And so I had to check myself and make sure, like, am I just doing this because I want a specific outcome, or do I truly want to chase after the heart of God? No matter if the result is the way that I want it to end or not, I'm going to still live in that repentance. And that's what true godly grief and repentance leads to. And so this verse really changed my life. It really changed my heart. And in the past, I probably would have just changed my ways for a short amount of time. And now I could say, like, it's not for a result or an outcome. It's because I want to be like Christ. I want to walk like He walked. And I want to have that godly grief to change my ways, not to just simply mitigate those uncomfortable feelings and that shame and whatever. Godly grief lasts forever. And we might fall, we might slip. It's okay. We get back up.